Good evening, this is Frank Korea, and 4 years ago in this state, I made some predictions for the 2015 election, and I've decided, hey, let's do it again for Canada. All right, their election's on Monday, and I'm being cutesy, but I'm going to actually make my predictions with my professionally drawn map based on the strengths of the provinces and their territories. And like and subscribe, hate, and comment. This is the Canadian election, and I'm going to use the colors of the parties as much as I want to. So right now the Liberals are of course, of the Prime Minister. They're going to be in red, Conservatives in blue, NDP in orange, the Greens in green, the People's Party, we're going to put that in purple, and I know that the Bloc likes to use blue, but I don't like them, so I'm going to put them in hot fuchsia. And if I do have any others who get elected, I'm going to put them in gray. So like and subscribe, hate, and comment. So we are in Canada's 43rd federal election. There are 338 seats, as this perfectly drawn map will express. And every one of them are up. Of course, in a parliamentary system, it is not about who gets the most votes nationwide. It is about who wins the most seats. You need 170 for a majority. If you don't get a majority, then you are a minority government. Canada has traditionally, over the last 90 years, not had coalition governments. They just, whoever gets the most party, they choose the prime minister until such time that the parliament dissolves. Now, I'm going to start with the easy ones, or what should be easy. We're going to go with the territories here. Now, as you see, the territories are very small. Yukon, Northwest Territory, and Nunavut. Now, last time, they all went Labour, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll happen this time, and I actually don't think it will happen this time. I do think they are going to maintain the Northwest Territories, but looking at history, I believe they're going to have a three-way split. You're going to have the NDP, who's going to win the seat in the Yukon, and you are going to have the Conservatives win the seat in Nunavut. So you're going to have the three parties getting their 3 votes, but again, it's very, very small. Now, if I was going to do this in some sort of order to make sense, I would go from east to west or west to east, but I'm going to go into, we'll say, funner last. Okay, so I'm going to start with Alberta. Alberta is here. It's 36 seats, and this was mostly blue last time, and it will maintain mostly blue now. Of the, 34 seats. Of the 34, I think they only lose 1 in Calgary and 1 in Edmonton. So we're just going to paint this thing big time blue pretty much throughout. And we're going to have 1 little orange spot down here for the NDP, and 1 little red spot up here for Edmonton for the Liberals. So as you can see, most of the 34 seats are going to go for Alberta, and they're going to go for the Conservatives. We're going to move to the prairies. This again should be mostly conservative. They were mostly conservative last time, a little bit more of a division. Manitoba, which is here, has 14, and Saskatchewan here has 14. I don't think it'll be as conservative this time. Manitoba, I've got with 10 for blue, conservative, and 8 for Saskatchewan. Now, I do have that the NDP is going to do a little bit better in Saskatchewan than Manitoba. I've got them getting 3 seats in Saskatchewan and 2 seats in Manitoba, with the Liberals getting the rest there. And then, of course, I lose my heavy-duty marker. And so, of the prairies, 18 conservative, mini prairies, 18 conservative, 5 NDP, and 5 Liberal. Now, I'm going to skip Ontario and Quebec, and I'm going to go all the way to the Maritimes. So the Maritimes, in unison, all went Liberal. All 32 seats I did my math right. All 32 seats here. All right. Now, it won't be as red this time. Prince Edward Island, I think, which actually is way overweighted. They only have 120 plus thousand people, and they actually get 4 seats in the Constitution. They're going to go 2 for the NDP. I got 1 for the Liberals and 1 for the Conservatives. The Liberals are going to lose 3 seats, I think, out of Prince Edward Island. Moving over to Newfoundland and Labrador, I do think that the Greens are going to get on the board there. I believe they're going to win one of the seats in St. John's as opposed to St. John. Or is it St. John? I get those two confused. There's a St. John's and a St. John, which I always get those two screwed up. The Liberals are going to get 4 of the seats, and the Conservatives are going to get 2. And down to down to New Brunswick. New Brunswick, I've got the Conservatives and the NDP picking up 1 seat. And I've got the Liberals taking 8. And I also have the NDP getting 1 seat in Nova Scotia, the Conservatives getting 3, and the Liberals getting the rest. So there's been a lot of talk. Will the NDP do better than they did last time? One of the early tests is going to be in the Maritimes, and the reason why is that's where they kind of did the best back in 2011. That's the only time that they've ever been the minority, the official opposition in Canada. If they don't do better in the prairies, and if they don't do better in Atlantic Canada, they're not going to be a factor at all. But I do think they do a little bit better there. So in the Maritime, I've got 20 for the Liberals, 7 for the Conservatives, 4 for the NDP, and that 1 seat for the Greens. Now I'm going to go all the way west to British Columbia. British Columbia is actually going to be one of the more funner ones to pick out. You may have a lot more diversity. This is the one area where Elizabeth May, the quote-unquote liberal of the Greens, is basically her fiefdom rests out there in BC. And I have her winning her seat there on Victoria Island. And I have 1 seat in Vancouver. I'm just putting them as dots because I don't think they deserve to get bigger lists. British Columbia is the 3rd biggest province. They have 42 seats. And I think the Conservatives, who have been struggling in the polls, depending where you look, but I think that they are going to get a rise over the last few weeks. I think they've been campaigning very well out in Western Canada. And I think they are going to get a majority of the seats, 24. Now, in provincial elections, this would be a big get because they don't do anything like that in provincial. But I do think they will get 24. They're going to be rivaling Alberta for the most conservative seats. A little hint on how this is going to run out with the other 2 provinces. The Liberals in BC aren't going to get completely shut out. I've got 7. That's a decline from the last time. And they're going to do pretty well in Victoria on Vancouver Island, with the NDP getting 9 seats, mostly around Vancouver. So now we filled out most of the map, except for the big 2. So we're going to go with the one that will be the most colorful, Quebec. So Quebec has 78 seats. And, of course, they have the separatists. The Bloc Québécois, or as I like to call it, the A-hole party. Last time they had 10 seats. They were not an official member of Parliament. But because Pierre Trudeau's son has done such a bang-up job for Quebec, the separatists should be pretty strong. I have seen reports that they could get up to 50 seats. I don't think that is in the cards. I'm going to be a little conservative and say they're going to get 35. 35 would be almost a majority of the seats. And this is definitely not going to be colored to where they are. And I just screwed up my colors and I can't redo the map. So they're going to be purple. Man, I was going to do them in hot fuchsia pink. My bad. Okay, and clearly I'm not going to put them where they really are at, because they would definitely be not this far north. And they would definitely be on the island, but they wouldn't be anywhere near Montreal. But fine, screw it. They're going to get 35 seats. Maxine, who is the People's Party, who is actually going to be the poor sport with his party in some of the West and in Ontario and in Quebec. He's going to take his one seat. He is going to get elected. He's got his one seat. Now, the Greens, I do not think that they will get a seat in Quebec. The NDP, which a few years ago were the powerhouse of Quebec. The NDP, they kind of picked up back in 11. They actually picked the slack for the bloc. That's why they became the opposition. I have them only getting one seat. And I know that that's under what a lot of estimates have said for Quebec, but I just don't see them doing very well at all. I got the one seat. Partially it is because of immigration. Partially it is because of their leader. Jagmeet Singh does not play well. Somebody with that name is not just going to play well in that ethnicity in Quebec. I'm sorry. Quebec is a lot more racist than anything you can get in most of North America. On the rest of the map here, I think the Conservatives are going to get about 7 seats. I'm going to spread them around. It's going to be near Montreal, but not in Montreal. And Justin is going to pick up the rest. Be 34. So they're actually going to be the second party in Quebec. So this may be the not the first time that Quebec has had the second party lead the government, but we'll see. So now we got to go to the big boys in Ontario. Ontario has 121 seats. It is over a third of Parliament. It is almost somewhere like a 35% of all the seats. And there will only be 3 parties in play. The first will be the NDP. They are going to be mostly concentrated around Toronto, like normal. I've got them at 19 of these seats. A pretty good showing, but clearly not enough that would be deciding the Parliament. And quite frankly, I don't think they would be a very good third party. I have them tapping out at 40 seats in Parliament. Now we're going to go with the Conservatives. The Conservatives, again, there's going to be some around Toronto. There's going to be some in exurban Ottawa, and a lot in the north. I have them at 39 seats. So 39 seats would make it technically the most conservative province in seats, but clearly not in available seats. So that leaves the Liberals, and I have the Liberals with a majority of Ontario at 63. A lot of that's going to be by Ottawa. A lot of that's going to be in the Horseshoe. Some of that's going to be in the north, and clearly this map is not going to member it up. I did try to make it up kind of look a little bit cool. But here's my final map. With 131 seats, the Liberals will be the minority government. The Conservatives will be at 128. And like I said, Canada does not, as tradition, does not do coalitions. I do have the Conservatives getting 32% of the vote to the Liberals 29. So much like Hillary Clinton, they will run it up here and they will struggle in the middle. Sound familiar? Got the NDP with 40, the Bloc Québécois at 35. Those will be your 4 official parties. You need 12 to be a party in Parliament. The Greens will have 3, and the People's Party will have Maxine. That is your 338 seats. The election is on Monday, 4 million Canadians have already casted votes through early voting. They are slowly catching up to Florida's model. I think it was 4 years ago, it was about 1 million who had voted early. They have at least exceeded 4 million. They may hit 5 million once all of those votes are counted. Generally, Canadians vote somewhere between 60 and 70%. I think total turnout is going to be a little bit lower. I'm going to put it at, on the low side, I'm going to actually put it at 58, it's a little bit under the 60. And again, I've got the Liberals will win the middle, the Conservatives will run it up on the West, and that is why the Conservatives will not rule. And I don't think this Parliament will go the full 4 years. How Canada works, it's a 5-year mandate. They have in the rule it's after 4 unless it gets extended or there is a no confidence vote. There's no way that this is going to make it past 18 months. Canadians will be in the polls sometime after the Americans pick a new president. So I'm going to say, or at least have a new election. So I'm going to say, before the Winter Olympics in 2022. Canadians don't like winter elections, so I'm going to say, let me see. I'm going to say they're going to be an election by, going to be a no confidence vote by August of 2021 with the election in October. So here we go. See how right I am, Canada. This is your vote. Have fun.